to On Behalf of, where I, Dara Kalima, the community poet, chat with folks who speak on behalf of their respective communities. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been listening so far. I hope you're hitting that subscribe button anywhere you're watching, listening, checking in. So from YouTube, hit subscribe. I'm still trying to get to 100, guys. So please, please, please press that button. If you're listening anywhere else, subscribe, tell other people to listen. That would be great. And, there's also this option to, be a fan or member or something like that. If you're listening to them from Spotify, you could do it for $4.99 or more. I have nothing to give you, but, I'm giving you all my time and energy making these things happen. So that would be great if you want to do that too. But no worries. Either way, no more commercials from me at this moment. I want to get into this conversation because I have been trying to get this person on this show for months. They've been beaming all over the daggone place. I can't even tell you. So I just want to tell you quickly that I met this person online a million years ago. I've never even met this person in person yet, but they've become a dear friend. And I don't know why we started talking personally. I don't know why all of that happened, but I ended up joining this community and I really couldn't talk for the community, even though y'all heard me talk about the community a couple of times if you've been paying attention. But I was I need somebody from the community. And I was this is the person I approached because I was I want this person. But if they don't stop bouncing all over the daggone atmospheres and planets and stuff, I might not be able to get them to do this. But they were finally able to lock in this week. And so this person is super dope. They have an interesting story to tell. I'm not going to say anything else other than say, hey, friend, now that you're sitting still for a few moments, would you be so kind as to tell folks your name?
Hello, my name is Johnny Martin Jr.
Hey, Johnny Martin Jr. What's your pronouns?
He, him, awesome. They, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And tell folks about yourself.
By profession, I am a pharmaceutical technician, which to me, I consider that to be like a glorified cook. We make medicines out of raw materials. I am currently working at my third company. I've been doing it on and off not on and off. I've been doing it consistently for 20 years at different companies. I find that process fascinating, just the process of, making medicine and, doing it in its various forms. Wow.
And where are you from?
I am from Elizabeth, New Jersey, born and raised.
Yep. Born and raised. Okay.
Yes,
I don't think I know anyone who's been raised there or born there.
Well, now you do. You do.
I don't think I realized you were in Elizabeth either.
Yeah, I'm Elizabeth. I've spent time. So I lived in Irvington for a while. I lived in these renovated projects for a while. But did that. I got married for a while. Lived in Manalapan, which is the Sopranos land. That kind of yeah. Did that for a while, then came back to Elizabeth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice, awesome. Cool. So, what communities are you part of?
I am. Oh wow, that's a very good question. Well, obviously you can see, I'm a Trek guy. I've been a part of the Star Trek community for a long time.
You're also a New Jersey guy.
Yeah. I've been, going back. I'd say I started doing the convention circuit around 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. I started going to the Vegas convention. I took part in a wedding at one time. They're divorced now, unfortunately. But I was part of the wedding party. I was part of the honor guard for the wedding party. Um, I've been to premieres. I've been to different. I volunteered. I don't know if you're aware of the Ticonderoga um, replica set.
No,
No? Okay. So do you want the backstory on that? I
not
don't know.
yet, because it sounds like you're telling me all about Trek. But I think you're part
Okay.
of other communities too, right? So
Um, yeah, yeah. Well, in the
you're
last,
you're a
yeah,
cat dad.
yes, I am a cat dad. Yes, Delilah is my baby. That's my baby. She has been with me through thick and thin, and she's napping now, but um, yeah, that's my baby. That's yeah, I'm a cat dad, and it's really interesting because in the last like, especially the last 3 or 4 years, like I've found out that there is this very small but tight knit community of Black cat dads. And yeah, and like, I just thought I was like this anomaly, like I just thought I was this rare person. There are people like, oh, you have a cat. Like I wouldn't expect you to have a cat. And I'd be like, why? You know, but yeah, but then come to find out, I'm not alone. I am not alone at all. And yeah, yeah. Delilah, she when the year I decided to put a costume on her, a Star Trek costume, people were like, make a page, make her own page of that. And I was like, okay, I don't expect that to go anywhere. And it is just like bananas. Like the people love Delilah. They love her. And the only regret I have is that I didn't do it sooner. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
because like now she's getting older, so people are like, oh my god, can I meet her? And I'm like, she's a little older now, so I don't want to kind of put her through. If she was like a year old, I could bring her to shows and things like that, but now she's older, so I'm just content to like take a picture every now and then. And you know uh people love that. I mean, I don't recently she's she's got arthritis and so forth. And I bought her a staircase. My sister bought her a staircase. And I posted about that, and everybody was like, oh my god, that's so sweet. I was like, hey, I'm doing what a daddy does, like that's my
That's
baby.
awesome. So then,
um
so you also
yes,
are living with a particular illness, am I correct? Is-
that's right. I have multiple sclerosis. And that's another community that I have actually come to know and love people in that community um, in the last few years. And it's interesting you mentioned that because, like, at first, I don't want to like go into detail about my symptoms, but when the initial symptoms presented themselves, everybody was saying it was a pinched nerve, and I was like, okay, pinched nerve. Let's do what we got to do to fix this. After all of those MRIs and spinal taps and everything, I come to find out that it's something more. And, you know, it, in the beginning, it seemed kind of hopeless because the only way I can explain it is like, if you're ever in the gym and you work out your legs and the next day your legs are like super sore and super weak, like that's what my legs feel like every day.
Mhm.
And so I had to go to the hospital, get steroid infusions to, reduce the inflammation. And while I was sitting in that hospital bed, I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to have to use a cane. And this is probably where you're going to like, you know, get on me.
Yes, can we keep going?
Yeah. So I'm in my hospital bed and I'm like, I have my phone and I'm looking up, I'm looking up initially Star Trek cane. and nothing's coming up. And the thing I did find, however, was a Star Wars cane. And there's a guy. Well, there was a guy. I think he had to stop. I think they probably gave him like a cease and desist. He took lightsaber toys and converted them into canes.
Nice.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get that thing because I don't want to walk around with a Walgreens cane. I mean, this house between my grandmother and my mother, there are plenty of mobility aids around, and I just didn't want to look like an old man at that point. And so I ordered a Star Wars cane. And it's actually like a really cool conversation starter. I've traveled a few times with it, and like the TSA agents, there's always at least one that will be like, "Hey, that's Luke Skywalker's." Like they know, yeah. Cops, well, some of them think it's a weapon, but then, there are other people. I can just be at a random hotel in Atlanta, and somebody will be like, "Is that a lightsaber?" And like they want to look at it, And the one thing that I didn't realize when I went to my neurologist for MS, the social worker there said, "You know what? That just the action of you ordering that cane shows the kind of spirit that you have in regards to fighting this thing." So you're like an MS Jedi. I was like, oh wow, I didn't think that. That's what she told me. Yeah. shout out to oh God, Alyssa. Yeah. Shout out to Alyssa. She was like, yeah, you're a badass MS Jedi. Think of that. I was like, oh, I did not think of that. I just wanted something different, But yeah. That's another group I'm in.
So you got a lot of little communities to be part of, which are
Yeah,
awesome.
that's true. Yeah. It's crazy because now I'm drawing a blank.
That's okay. At least we got you to more than just the one we're going to talk about today, which one are we talking about today?
Wow.
I think
God.
it's in your outfit. It's in your outfit.
Yeah, it's pretty much, yeah. That's been my defining, yeah. Oh, wait. I didn't tell you about the the replica set. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's a guy, James Cowley, shout out to him. He went out to Vegas and, made good money as an Elvis impersonator. And he was a really big Star Trek fan. And when he went back home to upstate New York, he wanted to rebuild the original Star Trek set, not, there's no bricks involved, but, he wanted to rebuild that set frame by frame to the exact specs that the original set was made. So he called people at Paramount, got blueprints for that set, and rebuilt it in an old, like, abandoned store over there. And it was, what was this, 2016? And my mother had just passed away, and I was like in the dumps, and I wanted, and one of the guys I met at Comic-Con approached me about volunteering on that set. So I went there, and for 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weekends, I would drive up there after work, 3-hour trip, and go up there, and I would be security on that set. And it was so fascinating because it is a replica. It's a perfect replica of that set. Perfect. Wow. I mean, I was like a little kid. 5 a.m, I go there. They gave me the keys to this place, and I'm going in there. Me and this other guy, and I'm just walking around, and the owner is he was so like obsessive about making sure the place was immaculate. He had runners, like people need to use the bathroom or whatever. He had like runners on the floor so they didn't ruin the carpet, whatever. But I mean, he had the bridge, he had the doctor's office, he had Kirk's office, engineering. I think at this point, like he built like a replica of the Next Generation bridge. Like it's yeah, yeah. Like you really, really owe it to yourself to go up there and visit. You know, it's worth it. It's up there by the Lake George area. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So this
Mm-hmm.
place still exists. I feel like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
wait, was he at the 50th anniversary?
He was at,
I
I don't
know.
know if you remember. Remember when they had the little mini convention at the Javits Center that
Yeah,
one
that was the
year?
50th anniversary.
Oh,
So
okay. So he was
because I
there.
remember
Yeah.
someone was talking about they had the green piece from whatever
Oh,
episode.
the city on the edge of forever, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so
Oh, yes. Yes. They had all of those props there. I'm not, I mean, I don't know if it's legally okay for me to share those pics now or not, but like I took pictures of that set and they had I forgot, oh God, what was the name of it? Was it not the Oracle? But they had like all of these props there, and they were all recognizable from the original series,
yeah,
perfectly rebuilt. I mean, oh,
because
it was
I feel like I had a conversation while I was there about that piece
Mhm.
because I didn't recognize it because I wasn't
Right,
a big original series fan.
right,
And so, but I mean, it looks familiar, but didn't look familiar because it wasn't
right,
really in my head. And
right.
then I remember talking about like, oh no, it's upstate New York. We have this
Hmm.
place. I remember that conversation now that you're talking
Yeah,
about this.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
didn't. Okay, all right. I know. I
yeah.
didn't know it was over by Lake George. Okay,
Yes.
no.
It's like right down. I mean, I don't know if it's right down the road, but that's what it felt like. you know, yeah. I mean, because I remember, because I had been at Lake George like maybe 20 years ago, and I'm recognizing the road. I'm like, oh wow, this is like familiar. Like those were the hotels that I couldn't afford when I was like 19. You know, I, I'm like, wait a minute, this is like Lake George, and then you go a little further, and it's all like very upstate New York, very
Mm-hmm.
small town, you know, yeah. But it's really nice. Like it's really worth the trip just to go and see it and to experience being, I mean, oh God, like I can't even imagine what I don't know how to tell anybody how it feels to be there and to like, for me, especially, I was security. I
Mm-hmm.
opened and closed the place. And I was just walking around there like, oh my God, this is like my 10-year-old dream come true, you know, walking around, and I didn't do anything inappropriate, like, sit in the chair, but but I was tempted, you
Sure.
know, it has that, I think the deal is now, around the time they started, Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember, like there was like this serious lockdown on like fan films and you know
Mm-hmm.
what you could and couldn't make as far as fan films were uh uh involved. And so Paramount was so impressed with what this guy had done that they told him, I'll tell you what, you can operate the place as like a series set tour, you know
Mm-hmm.
and that way he can still create an income from all that hard work you put into making the place, and it really is impressive. It really is.
Okay. So now I
Yeah,
have to find my way over there.
yeah, you have
Okay.
to. It's so impressive. Yeah.
So here's a question for you.
Yeah,
When did Trek find you?
that's a good question. I you know Okay, Now I have to like retrace my steps here. So the original series was like my excuse for staying up late as a kid. Yeah. Um, it was so I grew up in New Jersey. So we have the New York station, Channel 11, and every night it would be, The Odd Couple, The Honeymooners, and Star Trek. And so, those were my summer nights. My mother would let me stay up to watch those shows. And so while I didn't really get into the original series, more so it was like an excuse to stay up late. So me and my father, we'd watch Star Trek. But the show that really got me into Trek was The Next Generation. Um, yeah, that was the show that really got me into it. I related a lot to Geordi for some reason. Not that I'm blind, I'm getting there now, but like he just seemed like, I was like, oh my God, like he's a black guy that's like, not stereotypical, and he's an engineer, and you know, I remember when I got to meet him, and I tried to tell him as quickly as I could, because autograph sessions are only a few seconds. And I told him, I was like, listen, I love you for Star Trek. My father loves you for Roots, and my mother loves you for Reading Rainbow. And he was like, oh wow, well, thank you. And it was so crazy because people were bringing like a Roots box set to him to sign, or some other, like a replica visor to sign. Yeah, but yeah. So Next Generation was when I always say, I always tell people when they ask me when I really got into Star Trek, when like the time when I knew for sure that I was a Trek fan, and I would tell them 1989, because I felt like, will it ever get any better than this? Because you had Next Generation on TV, I think, and as much as people don't like it, Star Trek 5 was in the theaters at that time.
Terrible movie.
I know, yeah, right. Everybody's
movie.
But I was so into it because I was like, this is new Star Trek stuff. I had like the official Star Trek 5 magazine. Yeah, I was like, wow, like there's Trek everywhere. Like it's never gonna get better than this. I really thought that. And
You would say that when the worst movie comes out, but okay, continue.
Well, yeah, I didn't know that then, but everybody, I was like, wow, I was like nerding out. I was geeking out. And yeah, like that was when like it was official. Like I knew I was a Trek. I was drawing comics, and I used to draw Transformers comics, and I loved Transformers. But like that was the year I started drawing like Trek comics. And yeah, like I remember that being like the year that I knew, like I was unashamed.
Okay.
So when I was like, I'm a nerd anyway. What else are you gonna pick on me about?
I'm still mad that it was 5 though.
Well, I mean, listen, I understand that I didn't see it right away. I was just really, they say don't believe the hype, but I was into the hype. And mind you, this was like 1989, so Batman like overshadowed everything. And I didn't care because I was like, there's a Star Trek 5 coming out, like that's what I knew. And I was like, I was reading all of the Oh goodness! Like I said, I had the magazine, and I remember like reading where William Shatner was like, "Yeah, well, we've got people in masks like Batman and uh,
Terrible comparison.
I I know. But I mean, yeah. In retrospect, and then I remember, like, I think there was like a writer's strike going on or something. Like, you can see how they were cutting corners in that movie left and right. You totally can see it.
It's
But
such a bad movie.
I didn't know that. I was 16. I didn't care.
I mean, I'm younger than you. I don't know how much by, and I don't remember, but it was 4 for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
4 was that was probably my gateway drug.
Right, right.
And I mean, my family, we watched it all the time. I watched the original series a little bit, but it was mostly the movies. And I watched Wrath of Khan, but I was too young. It was scary. So was Search for Spock. It was like I understood it, but that whole like when they found like him, that was too scary for me, so I couldn't do that.
Right.
But then you get to 4, The Voyage Home, and it has the silly moments where Spock puts the punker out, like you have all of that. So that's so much fun. Right. And them trying to like deal with like back in the day stuff. That was hilarious.
I will say that in between, like, watching Star Trek on TV and The Next Generation, Wrath of Khan was kind of like, because it used to come on every day on HBO, like every single day. And just due to the fact that it was on every day, I'd watch it and I'd be like, oh, and I'd read about how it was based on, an episode of the original series. And I never saw that episode until, I don't know, like 85, 86, sometime like that. And I was like, oh my God, this is the Khan from Wrath of Khan, So, but that particular movie had, caught my interest, had cemented my interest in Star Trek for a long time. It was only because I had grown into and accepted Star Trek by 89 that I was excited about, this part 5 thing.
Whatever excuse you want to come up with, that's fine. It's fine. I mean, I think everybody who knows, the only first movie really is the original. The original one with Major is I tried to do a movie rewatch because I've been rewatching everything. I never made it past the motion picture. I was like,
the motion picture it's kind of.
I'm amazed they made it to other movies because the motion picture was really painful. Really painful movie.
You know what made me wonder about the motion picture was when the Borg became a thing in the Star Trek universe. And I remember like watching this episode and wondering, I'm like, oh wow, is this like something that V'ger started? I always wondered about that. They never like say that concretely, like but I always wondered about that.
There is something there that makes you feel like it's somehow connected.
Yeah.
Even if it's not connected, it feels like they use some idea from there.
Yeah, exactly.
When they were creating the Borg, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
The Borg Queen, all of that.
Right, all of it, right?
Tied to the original movie. I'm glad you said that because I'm like, I've had that same feeling at times, but I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And like I'm a big Trekker, but like also I am not. I don't hold on to details like that.
Yeah,
so I've watched everything, but I don't get into like the nitty gritty.
Right, the minutia. Right.
Like I got a friend into it because of the conference. So she and I, she was a Star Wars person, and I'm like, nah, Trek is better. But I went to her house one day, and me, her, and her, then I guess fiance watched a bunch of Star Wars movies, and then they got married, and I took the photos for their wedding. And then they were like, oh, so here's a gift. Like the convention's coming, let's go. And I was like, okay, because I wasn't ever expecting to be. I mean, it's what you do for your friends, right?
Right,
I'm not a
right.
real photographer, so I was like, I'm happy to be at your wedding. I'm happy to use my little skills to help you for your wedding. And but that this is their thank you. And so we went to the conference. And now she's the one who's like, did you watch the latest episode of Picard? And she knows all the stuff more than I do. I'm like, how did this happen? What monsters did I make? Her was last week. I don't think we talked about anything Star Wars. Is she watching Star Wars shows too?
Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah.
She's become hardcore Trek since then.
Hey, that's how it happens.
I gotta say, what's funny is what I love is that you and I have been at these same places and never met.
Like, I know, that's what's
you and I were both at the launch for Discovery, and we were both at the convention.
Yeah,
we had the same picture.
Yeah. No, I saw, because I remember seeing you were sitting in the chair, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that was the chair from the set that I volunteered on.
That's amazing.
You know, I've got pictures of me with the crew, you know, that I worked with, and I was able to go like backstage or whatever, back prop, whatever, and you know, talk to those guys. They remembered me. You know, it was like unbelievable.
Wow.
You know, yeah,
that is awesome. That is awesome. So, I just had a question for you. Now it's like out of my head. What was the question? I'm so mad that I don't remember what the question was.
Something Trek related.
It was absolutely Trek related because that's what we're here to talk about. But it just left my head. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Oh wait, did I ever tell you about when I met Nichelle Nichols? Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
Okay. So when I went, I forgot what year it was. Oh, it had to be 2012. So I just went crazy. I bought all the autographs, you know. And the one thing that I had to get was an autograph from Nichelle Nichols to my mother. And so I went, you know, and everybody was saying, you know, make sure when it comes to Nichelle Nichols, make sure you get the picture of her, you know, that's of her. Like, you know, don't get the picture that she's barely in the picture with the crew because she won't sign it. And I'm like, no problem. And so when you go up to, or back then, when you went up to go get the autograph, they want you to put a Post-it on there with the name that you want, you know.
Yeah, that's common.
Right. So I put Beulah. That was my mother's name. And as we're getting ushered through the line, you know, everybody's looking like, your name is Beulah? I'm like, no, that's my mother. And everybody's response was like, oh my God, you know, come along, sir, come along. And so I remember she had an assistant. I'll never forget because the assistant looked like Harry Potter. And I hand the picture to her, and the assistant's looking like, you know, oh, your name's Beulah? And I'm like, no, it's for my mother. And they're like, oh, you know, and they're like, oh, Miss Nichols, this gentleman wants you to sign this picture to his mother. And I'll never forget, like, she stands there. Oh God, do I have like a marker or something? All right, well, I have an inhaler. So she has the marker in her hand. And she points at me. She's like, she sent you here, didn't she? I was like, well, kind of, sort of, like, I'm here because of you, but you know, like, you know, me and your mother, you know, my mother told me about how, you know, she was inspired by you. You know, like my mother was going to join the military because of Lieutenant Uhura, you know, and it was so funny because my grandfather was like, no, here, listen, take this Chevy Malibu. I'll buy you a whole car so you don't have to work in the military to buy a car. I'll buy the car for you. And yeah, like I was like a little kid when she signed that picture, and I was like, thank you so much. Like I could have cried at that moment. But yeah, that was I've had like a few moments like that. Star Trek act actors for the most part are very personable, you know? Like they're not for the most part, they're not aloof. They're not, you know what I mean? I mean, there are exceptions. I won't say any names, but you know, they're very personable. You approach them and they talk to you, they engage you in conversation. Um, oh my God, my one friend, God rest her soul, Sonia, it was her first Star Trek convention. And I remember she was so head over heels to meet Garrett Wang. And he was so down to earth. He was giving me tips on like how to take pictures, you know. Yeah, yeah, you know. And she was sitting there in tears, you know. Yeah, like I've never had a bad interaction with a Trek star. Never. Not ever.
That's amazing. I've never had the pleasure because I will not pay that much money.
I know it is not cheap. No, like I as much as I want to do that cruise,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You
Yeah.
know, like I just have to cut my losses on that one. Yeah, as much fun as it is, and I have friends. I have friends. I have Jesse, my friend. He has a Trek podcast. Didn't know he was a Trek fan until like 20 years later when I saw him at the convention for the wedding, and I was the bouncer. Uh, like he goes on that cruise, and he's like, you know, I see him in the pool with Marina Sirtis, and I was just like, I'm jealous. You know, I'm like, I can't believe it. Like you're actually hobnobbing with these guys. I mean, you're stuck on a ship with them for 7 days, but yeah, that might be as a matter of fact. Shout out to my friend Frankie. That's a Star Trek the Cruise hat.
Nice.
Yeah, she got me that. Good dear friend. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Am I rambling? Am I talking too much?
Yes and no. Continue. Go ahead. Please. No,
Okay.
please keep
Okay.
going.
So my friend Frankie, who one of the moments when I went to my first Trek convention in Vegas, they had a party at this. It was like a nightclub, and I'm walking in there. I've got my outfit on, and the admission was free if you had your costume. And they were playing 80s music, which is my thing. And I'm like, oh my God, they're playing 80s music. Like there's Borg and Andorians and Starfleet officers dancing in the dance floor. And I'm just sitting there, I'm, my shy self. And this random person comes up to me like, hey, how you doing? I'm Frankie. I'm like, hi, I'm John. She's like, hey, you want to dance? I'm like, oh my God. And they're asking me to dance. I'm like, okay, let's go. You know? And I was like, I was like, I am among my people. That's how I felt.
That
So
is is that something is that like the question essentially that I would normally ask at this point is like name something beautiful about your community. But I think that's what you're saying is the beautiful thing about your community.
yeah, that's my point. I'm telling you, like, because there are people who may, I mean, they're Trek is no different than life, like when it comes to Trek fans, you've got different political views. You've got, people always assume that, Trekkies are this one cookie cutter way, that they're all one way, but no, there are liberals, there are conservatives, there are moderates, there's people who, have different points of view. But the one thing we can agree on is that, we all love Trek and we all love that something about that vision of the future, that vision of mankind kind of getting it right and making things, happen. There's something there that you can kind of connect with other people about or regarding,
But it's so fascinating about that.
What's that?
I'm glad you talked about that. But like, it's so interesting that people from Trek and people who love Trek do see it so differently. Like the original series, and even when you think about like the Next Generation, is it the Next Generation? No, it's not even the Next Generation. It would be Deep Space Nine. If you think about it, you have like, in theory, maybe not, you can stretch it. You almost have the first transgender kiss on the Next Generation. I mean, Deep Space Nine, because when you talk about Dax and having switched bodies and now kissing their ex, like you have this weird, not weird, but you have this thing happening there. You have the first, or depending how you discuss, the first interracial kiss on the original series.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
You have all these things happening. You had the black-white episode in season 3 of the original series. You have all of those things that were happening, and like we all know that parts of what Gene Roddenberry, wow, Dara, you should lose your card. What Gene Roddenberry was trying to explore was like the Cold War that we were in and all of that stuff. He was really putting it in front of people's faces. It's so fascinating that there's so many conservative followers when so much of it is a, in my opinion, a liberal
because that's what most people I had this one, I was dating this one lady who had a friend whose husband was amazed at the fact that I liked Star Trek at all. And I was like, well, why wouldn't I be? And I remember this night particularly because we went to see The Wizard of Oz at this theater. And while we were waiting to be seated, we're at the concession stand, and I'm talking about my time volunteering on the set in upstate New York. And there was this one girl working at the concession stand, a Black lady. And she comes to me, she's like, I'm sorry, I overheard you talking about working on a Star Trek set. And I was like, yeah, it's a replica set in New York, upstate New York. And she's like, oh, wow. Like, I'm showing them pictures, And she's like, can I see pictures? And so now this guy's like totally stunned because now it's like he knows he's seen 2 Black people that are into Star Trek. And I'm like, and I was trying hard not to be offended because I'm like, well, why wouldn't I be? Like, I mean, I'm and I'm like, what? And I'm trying to be like very cordial, and I'm trying to tell him, well, it's not just me. It's, I mean, think about it. A show from the 1960s that, has like a positive Black character in it. I mean, not just for me, but like for so many of my Asian friends, Sulu was, the first person that wasn't like this stereotypical, Asian character. They carried themselves with dignity. And I'm like, well, why would that be shocking to you? And I think he learned something that day because he never mentioned it again. But, you run into people who have, and the only reason I'm thinking about that is when you mentioned the first interracial kiss, because, that was shocking to people then, and there are still people who can't conceive of any other demographic liking Trek,
And I mean, just think about it. That kiss was multi-level propaganda. I mean, one, it was forced because they couldn't have done it out of lust. Right. But besides that, he forced it. into being on the show, because he kept crossing his eyes in every other take. So that would be the only take that worked.
Right.
Like they couldn't do anything else.
Have you ever seen the that drunk history episode where they talk about that?
It. No,
oh, you have to
I
see
gotta
it.
find it.
Raven Simone plays Nichelle Nichols, and oh God, what's his name? Urkel. Oh God, Jaleel White plays Martin Luther King, and it's so funny, like, you know, because it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen this show, you know, it's drunk history. So
yeah, I've seen drunk history.
Yeah, you have to just see. I won't spoil it for you, but it's so funny. Yeah.
So I will have to go look that up, because no, I mean, it's such a big. It was they made sure that kiss was, like, they were gonna pull it, but every take was destroyed.
Right.
On purpose.
Right.
So they had to go with that. So I think that's incredible in itself, you know.
It is, yeah.
But I think it's so fascinating what people choose to see, and it's so like, for me, the only way I read, like the only way I got into reading at all, was because of Star Trek books.
Okay.
Like, I was reading Star Trek books. So what I loved about that convention, the 50th anniversary convention, was being in when they were announcing the Discovery, that they had, you know, some of the authors from those books that I was reading in the panel. That's why I went to that panel. I didn't really care about Discovery at that point, because I didn't know what was happening. I went because I wanted to know more. I wanted to hear from the writers that I have been reading my entire teen years. That's the only reason why I read. I was the only thing I was like, I don't like reading stuff. So my mom handed me books that were sci-fi, because it was the only thing I liked. So I started reading Star Trek, and I would go to a bookstore and walk straight to the sci-fi section, and I'd pick up the latest Star Trek book I didn't have. It was either that or Quantum Leap were the only two books I were reading.
Right.
My ringtone is still Quantum Leap for like 5 phones now. Like, I keep just changing it so that it's always Quantum Leap on my phone. Mind you, my phone doesn't even have the sound on, but it is Quantum Leap. And then my closest friends are 21 Jump Street. Because again, I also am a child of the 80s.
I know.
But yeah, like, it's just so, like, that's the thing that frustrates me about the Trek community, are the people who seem to get it wrong, who don't get what the message is under some of that. And like, it's so beautiful what Gene Roddenberry was trying to do. But like, you know, I want to hear, I'm going to share my complaint about what frustrates me, because I wrote a blog about this. I don't know if you read it, but I wrote a blog on behalf of, or in defense of Discovery. And so now I'm mad that Discovery is being canceled. Unless she wants a break. Unless she wants a break, then I'm cool. But if she didn't want the break, I'm pissed. And what I'm more mad about are Star Trek fans who are saying bad things about Discovery. And I get that,
they're out there.
All 3 shows that are out, like the main shows, Discovery, Picard, and
Strange New Worlds.
They all have different paces. And that's, I mean, Discovery came in and they had to go hot. It had to go fast and hot to get people to buy in. They had to, like, CBS Access would have failed if Discovery failed. And that's no matter what, because CBS Access was banking on Discovery's success.
Yeah,
so I had to hit the ground running and get everyone involved and tied to it. And then Picard came out, and not because, I'm going to use a horrible statement, and it's not because of his age, but it is a geriatric show. And it's not geriatric because everyone's old. It's the slowest paced show. This season is the only season that has good pacing. The other 2 seasons, you're like, why is this thing moving so slowly? And then, and I still have other beefs with Picard. We can talk about that separately, but I have other beefs with Picard. And then you have Strange New Worlds, what everyone loves, but it's just like the original series. But like, everyone's like, oh no, but Discovery wasn't like this. But Discovery and DS9 were the 2 shows where you had Black leads. And hilariously, neither one of them were captains when they led the show.
Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
And so like, you keep doing these special tropes where we are mistreated. And those are the things that frustrate me. But what frustrates you about Trek?
My critiques. See, it's interesting you brought up Deep Space Nine because I don't know. My critiques have never been about the shows so much as about people's perception of them.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when my old job, and I'd watch, I'd look at excerpts from Deep Space Nine on downtime on the computer. And, somebody would come around and be like, oh man, how can you sit and watch that? Blah, blah, blah. And I would always tell them, like, especially because for whatever reason, it would be a brother that would, have this critique. And I would be like, have you ever sat down and watched this show? I'm like, Benjamin Sisko is like one of the best portrayals of Black fatherhood that's on television.
Facts.
And they, right, and they would look at me like, huh? And I'm like, no, see, you're getting lost in this setting and there's aliens and everything like that. But this is a man who is raising his son. He's in charge of this station,
And he
Okay,
always tells him how much he loves him.
Yeah,
And
right.
there was like, they didn't mind touching each other.
Right.
And it was very
I'm like,
beautiful.
I'm like, are you watching this show? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? And they don't, obviously. Okay. Let me answer the question.
No, I mean, it may not be the show. Again, this is the community. This is about the community, right?
Yeah, right.
I think there's some issues with the community, but continue.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, when it came to Discovery, and again, like okay, like in the case of me working at the set in Ticonderoga, we had a lot of hardcore dyed-in-the-wool TOS fans, and they were just livid when they heard that Discovery was like a prequel, and they really were livid when the whole idea of Burnham as Spock's adopted sister became a plot point. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, you know what? You need to give this time. You need to give this show time to play itself out. I don't think, they're like, oh, the aesthetic, nothing. That's okay. So that's one issue I have is that, some people have these little pithy issues with the aesthetics, with the uniforms and so on and so forth. I'm like, well, do you really expect them to make this show with 1960s aesthetics? It's not going to work. It's going to look cheesy. It's going to look, people are going to laugh at, they're going to laugh it off there. There has to be something there to draw younger people in, to make people stick with it, And I'm just not one of those people that's like, I don't nitpick those things. That's the one thing about me. I don't nitpick those things. This is not 1964. You can't expect, the look of the show to look like it did back then. If you want to do that, you make your own show. You know what I mean? Like you do your own thing. Yeah.
See, here's my thing, because I'm with you. I'm so with you. I'm like, you seem that whole, I'm having a whole thing over here. I'm trying not to like interrupt you or nothing.
Yes. No
my
problem.
Feelings are, because I'm completely with you. I feel like there's different types of Trek fans, right? There's the loyalists to the entry, like the entry point, whatever the entry point is, that's the only thing they can love.
Right.
And they want to take down everything else.
Right.
And there's people who are fans who just love Trek. So you like me, give me anything that says Trek. I'd be like, yes, please. Can I have some more?
You're into it.
Even movie 5. You can give me Undiscovered Country.
I'm glad you made that clear.
And I will even watch Undiscovered Country again.
Hey.
So I mean, I own all the movies. I own them on VHS and DVD.
Right.
And on Blu-ray.
God. Oh, you're like me. Oh my Lord.
So if it was on if it was on VHS, I have it on VHS.
Right,
if it was on DVD, I probably have it on DVD, but I definitely have it on Blu-ray. So let's go. You know, like I own them. So I'm still gonna make it through the rewatch of everything. I only made it through the first one. Because life is lifing. But like if you like Trek and you like what Trek stands for, you'll like it in every iteration.
Right. Yeah.
Or in most iterations. You'll find something about it. But people don't and just exactly what you said, the thing that people hated and loved about DS9 was that DS9 was the only one that became serial. It was not episodic like the rest of it. This is also what Discovery was doing. At that time, the audience needed something that kept you longer. The audience needed something to pull you through the entire show. Like they needed you to be there with them the entire, like you needed to like that's, if you watch people who rewatch DS9, they do not watch the episodes that are just your episodic episodes. They'll be like, nah, skip that, get to the Dominion stuff. That's what the meat of the show is. That's how most people rewatch it. They're not gonna watch the episode where he's playing baseball with his whole team. I love that episode, but most of the people are not gonna watch that episode. You know, I love all of those back traveling episodes with him because there's something really nostalgic that's beautiful and like really looking at that time period in a very in a painful but not so painful way. Like like he's really looking at history with clearer eyes than we normally do. I love all those episodes. But those are not the episodes that people are talking about. They fast forwarding through that. They're doing Dominion.
Right.
That's the meat of DS9.
Yeah.
So
juicy stuff.
Exactly. So they're trying to, they're not getting that. So when I talk to people about these 3 series that are out now, forget the cartoons, forget all that other stuff. Because I watch the cartoons and everything too. And I've ranked all the shows in the order. But and I can't tell you the order right now because I wouldn't remember it. But I'm gonna tell you Picard is at the end, Enterprise is at the end, and the original series is at the end. They're in the bottom 3. But that's my own thing. But either way, when you look at the 3 that are out, you have DS9 again, you have the original series, and then you have this mix of Next Generation and Voyager happening with Picard. Like that's what's happening with Picard. Picard is your Next Generation and Voyager sort of blending happening. So you're answering to those people who need to tap into that nostalgia. You have these other people who really want to have the original series back, and that's what Strange New Worlds is doing for them. And Discovery is really bringing. Discovery has answered to the Great Resignation. That they've been talking about those topics right now. They've been talking about a whole bunch of like personal identity. Like the reason why I hated Discovery when it first happened, I was mad Discovery when it first happened because of her getting demoted so horribly. Because I was like, see, this is exactly what Trevor Noah said, and I think I write it in my blog. Maybe I didn't. I maybe said it somewhere else. I said it in the interview that I got interviewed in. Trevor Noah said, Black women can't afford to F around and find out. And that's what happened to her. And that was what was happening to me when that show came out. And so I so identify with Michael Burnham. But then here's the thing with Michael Burnham, they took all the sensuality out of her initially. She was Vulcan, but Black women can't afford to be fun, and we have to be serious. So there's so much for us in her. It's frustrating. It's almost like I get mad for her because she can't just be, and y'all taking that away. Y'all taking away the show that made CBS Access, that became Paramount Plus.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It did. Totally did.
None of this would exist. You would not have Lower Decks. You would not have
you wouldn't
Prodigy.
Have, right. I know.
You have
Prodigy,
none of this.
Yeah.
You would not even have Star Trek Day. Star Trek Day only came out in this new iteration of everything.
Right.
Let's be real about that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry, that was me on it. But like, so yeah, I think there's different type of fans, and I think this new the three of these answer to all those fans, the fans of DS9, the fans of the original series, the fans of, you know, the next generation's time period, you know. But I also think like there's fans who just like Trek, and I think Discovery did an amazing thing, because the problem of Enterprise was that Enterprise, in my opinion, and I used to like Enterprise, I used to defend Enterprise until I did the rewatch, and I was like, all right, I'm good. I defended it until the rewatch, and I was like, yeah, that last season was hard. That last season was a little painful. I was like, yeah, they got their feet, and I was like, no, what was I thinking? I really wasn't watching the show then, was I? So Enterprise is so like the costume, the uniform is different than the original series. You know, their technology makes a huge leap very quickly in the show, because they were doing grappling hooks in the beginning, and all of a sudden they're switching over. So Discovery comes in with a technology we've never seen before. But Discovery comes in, their uniform is a little bit closer to Enterprise. And then they sort of migrate and bridge us to the original series uniform when you have the captain come in, when you have Pike show up.
Right.
So they bridge everything that we need properly. And then they take us to what this thing could look like a million years later. And I will say the one good thing about Picard, and I didn't catch it, is that I can't remember people's names well at all. If you notice, I've been avoiding names the whole time. But the like Picard's adoptive son, not his real son, but Picard's adoptive son, the guy the kid that he took care of.
The Romulan kid?
Yes. The Romulan.
Elnor, was it?
Yes. Him. That is the tie to Discovery.
Okay.
Because that's the group that her mom becomes part of.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And it took me a while to put that together. And I was like,
oh, that's right. Yeah,
that's the same group. That is the same group. So they last all the way up until Discovery happens. So so they're all tied and connected, because I kept trying to figure out where Picard fit into this whole time period. But that is the one tie, is that group is her mom's group.
Right. Oh, goodness. That's right.
Yeah. So, is there a fun fact about Trek? Very rough pivot there. Is there a fun fact about Trek that that you think not everyone knows, or that you want to share, or that gets you interested?
God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Conventions have you been to while you think about that?
6 or 7. That's not counting the meetups, the photo shoots.
Yeah, because you do a lot of those too.
Yeah. Shout out to my friends who are doing their black and gray photo shoot today. I'm sorry I missed it. I was just out of it.
It's funny because we're part of are you part of the Black Trekkers group, or Trekkies group?
Yes, yeah. Okay. Yep.
I don't see you posting there often, but I know you're in the other one.
I'm sorry?
As I know, I don't see you posting there often, but I know you're part of
Not often. No. I am in that group. I'm in so many groups I lose count.
Okay.
And it's just been kind of weird the last few years, because like, you know, I try to get out there. But you know, in the beginning it was like easy for, I had this go get 'em spirit, I'm like, I got MS, but MS doesn't have me, it was like that kind of thing. But sometimes I've learned that I have to listen to my body and rest.
Yes.
And you know, like I've missed a few conventions. I've missed a few, you know. I did go to, oh God, you're gonna hate me. I went to the last Comic-Con, and only because Billy D. Williams was there. Billy D. Williams was there. I want to put that disclaimer out there. I dressed up as Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, so let's talk about that briefly. What's up with you and this trader thing that you're doing? What's going on with that?
Oh, I'm not a trader. I mean, you know what's funny is that where I work, it's like a war. I have one Trek friend and like 5 Star Wars coworkers. And they are forever berating me for liking Trek, you know. And, you know, I always have to have like, you know, I always have to be like ready to with the comebacks, you know. But I mean, with what I've seen lately coming from Star Wars, it's, you know, they're writing good stuff. Not necessarily the sequels, but yeah, that's another story. But but like the shows, I'm enjoying them. I as a kid, I remember my mother bought me, I think she went to the Goodwill one time and bought me like a novelization of what we call A New Hope now, you know, Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And like I remember reading it, I was like 12 years old and I read it and I was like fascinated by it. And I'm seeing some of that stuff like come to fruition on the TV shows. And I'm like, wow, this is what I read about when I was like 12. And so that aspect of it is interesting to me. Even on my, you've seen pictures of my train set, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So, you know, I've got Trek references all through there, but I have a couple of Star Wars, you know, things there too, you know. But you know, there's enough there to get your attention, you know. One of the books that I read when I was in the hospital was what was it, the Bounty Hunters Code or something like that. I was reading that. I mean, it kept me engaged. You know, I mean, I've read who knows how many Trek technical manuals. I have one of those you know, when you fix your car, you know, you have they have the manuals so you can service your car, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have those. I have the Enterprise. I have one of those for the Enterprise.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely, I do, and I've read that thing from front to back. You know,
impressed.
but it's, you know, there's enough. I mean, I always say Star Wars is like more for people who, what's the word? Oh God, how do I say this nicely? You know, it's for people who like, you know, they like the bang bang. You know what I mean? Like they like, yeah, they're more like action oriented, you know. But there are enough elements in that universe for me, because I like to, like, you know, I like to be very analytical. You know, I like to read charts and things like that. There's enough there to keep you interested, you know. Yeah.
All I heard was that the dark side is trying to get you, and I'm very sad by this.
It's trying to grab me. It does a good job sometimes.
I'm so sad by this.
Don't be. Listen, my loyalty is Trek.
Okay.
Look at what I'm wearing.
I know, but that's because I'm interviewing you about this. I'm just saying.
I've got so many more, you know, between that. I had to cut my uniform budget down. Oh, God. I mean, now these new shows are just creating so many new uniforms.
Yeah. They're churning. Like, I don't own a single uniform, but they're churning out uniforms. Like, I don't know. I've been I've been
Mhm.
keeping an eye on stuff just because I keep buying
Mhm.
the stupid t-shirts. I don't need another t-shirt in my
Mhm.
life. But
Mhm.
and there was a point that I got rid of all my t-shirts. I'm like, I don't wear t-shirts anymore. And now I have so many t-shirts,
Mhm.
it's ridiculous. But hence
Right.
me wearing all these ships on my shirt. And do you recognize
Mhm.
this you recognize this badge? Do you know where I got
Yes,
this from?
oh wait, that was from
It's from the
wait.
premiere.
Yes. Yes.
I've never
Oh
taken it out until
yeah.
just
I
now.
forgot. Oh my God, yeah.
I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
taken it out until just now.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so but yeah, so I just I mean I've watched everything Star Wars. I've not,
Right.
except for the cartoons. There's too many cartoons and I just
Yeah,
forget. And I've
no,
watched
that's
some
kind
of
of
them,
right. Right.
but I'm
But
that's
you
not my
know what's
thing there.
see now that's a perfect example. When you talk about I have as a matter of fact, he's my supervisor. Shout out to Pete. Um he gets he was like, I envy you because you haven't watched any because for the longest time I haven't watched any of that Star Wars stuff. And so I finally got a Disney Plus account. And he was like, oh, I envy you because you're going to be able to binge watch all of this stuff in one weekend. Whereas
Not
I
one
had to wait
weekend.
for weeks to week to week. And now that I've watched it, right now, he is him and my manager before him. They were like, listen, you've got to watch these animated series. You've got to watch this. You've got to watch that. You've got to watch. And I'm just like, I'm like, oh my God, like, do I have to? You know?
No, you don't have to. You don't have to. You do not have to give in to that side of
To
things.
the
You do
dark
not have
side.
to. You do not have to. I give you permission not to,
Oh
because we are
God.
not about that life over here. Um, but no, I watch all this. My like one of my brother's first toys that I remember. I'm significantly younger than him, but it was like the whole Star Wars stuff.
Uh-huh.
But
Okay.
my household was Star Trek, so I watched all of it. I watched
Right,
all the
right.
movies. I've seen all the movies for Star Wars. I've watched the shows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm off. I just have to catch up. I have to watch both the latest Picard
Right,
and the latest Mandalorian. But I've
right,
watched,
right.
and I mean latest
Oh
being
yeah,
this week's
we didn't see
episode.
the
I've watched all of
Mandalorian.
them. So
Right.
I'm not mad about that. And it's funny because one of my friends keeps trying to tell me everything about like Star Wars is better than Star Trek. And I'm like, have you watched any of it? They've just done all the fan
Right.
stuff. They've actually not watched any of it. And I was like,
Right,
go
right.
watch some of it before you talk to me about it being better. Like you haven't even seen the
Right.
movies. You haven't even seen.
Right,
All
right.
right, don't talk to
But
me.
that's the thing,
I know all of this stuff.
yeah.
He's like, oh, but baby Yoda. You mean Grogu? Like, talk to me
Uh-huh.
when you know the names of the characters you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Yeah, no, a lot of people kind of, and this is kind of the thing that this is why I'm not phased when anyone tells me, "Oh my God, you're a Trek fan," right? Because people have this. Remember that old William Shatner skit from Saturday Night Live?
Which
You remember that?
I don't know.
Remember the one where they were like, "Oh yeah, we've got to, it was at a convention, quote unquote, and William Shatner was the guest."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, I've been going to these conventions for years. And I just want to tell you guys to get a life, you know? And he's looking at it, he's like, hey, have you ever kissed a girl? You guys need to get out of your mother's basements and go live, people. And then they go to him on the side and they're like, they whisper to him. And he's like, well, that was an imitation of of the evil Kirk from such and such episode. And, everybody was all like, yeah. But everybody has this preconceived notion that like we're all like a bunch of incels that live in our mom's basements and like there aren't like women Trek fans and I'm like, no, it's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. It's quite the opposite. And everybody's like shocked when I tell them that. And I'm like, well, you should have known, Star Trek is for intelligent people. What did you think? Who did you think would be into it? You know.
So I have
So I wrote it.
Yeah, sorry.
Uh-huh.
Continue.
Mm-hmm.
Finish.
Oh, that was it. Yeah. They just assume it's like a bunch of nerdy dudes, and like that's all there is to it. And like when I especially get that when I go to conventions and I take pictures, and they're like, "Oh my God, like who is that you're taking a picture with?" I'm like, "That's a fan." Like that's what we have. It's not what you think it is.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And I wouldn't care if it was.
So I have, I think, 3 more questions for you. One of which came up in one of the chats that I think we're in. Klingons, the actors, often played in the past, often shaded to be darker skin and tone.
Yeah.
Often played by lighter skinned people.
Right.
To you, was it blackface?
I lean towards no, because I mean, you think about that time when they first did it. They were doing that for Native Americans, right? They were doing that same thing. At that time, and I'm not making excuses for them either when I say that. I think as we went further in time, and you look into like the next generation era, they started casting actual black actors. Yeah, I'm kind of mixed on that one. But I am. I really am, because when I saw it back then, I didn't think anything of it because they weren't acting like stereotypical black people. But then again, when you look at the casting, it's like, okay, well, if they were supposed to be dark people, why didn't you cast dark people? That's a mixed.
Yeah, I've been grappling with that one, and it's interesting because originally I was saying no, and then I remember when I found out that more of them were not black, I was upset because I really thought I saw. I mean, yes, Worf was played by a black man, but I don't know if you saw the panel in that at that convention, at the same one that we were at, where it was hosted by the Black Trekkies, I don't remember what the Black Tribbles. I don't remember what their names were.
Oh yeah. Kennedy Allen and all that.
Yeah. So when they did that, they talked about the black folks in Trek or whatever, and so they had Tuvok, and they had Worf and some other people as well.
Right.
And I always I really see myself in Tuvok if I had to look at those black characters, because you always have to be very, and this is before Discovery came out, but I always saw myself, you always have to, at least as a woman, you can't be rageful, you can't show any emotion, you have to just grin and bear it. So I saw myself in that, but we also know he had to run away and hide because he was losing his mind at one point, and he couldn't deal with humans no more for a moment.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, all of that, But I also saw myself so much in Klingons, because Klingons are so not rageful. It's in their culture, and it's not like it's not thugs, but like there's this rage in their being, and I still recognize that, because we are, at least like you remember Baldwin, to be black and in America it means to always be angry. And so I recognize that sort of as a Klingon thing, and that being a black thing too. So then if I identify those things with Klingon, and a lot of them, at least in that time of Klingons, because now we know when we see Disco, there's a whole different iteration of them, and we keep messing with Klingons aesthetics anyway. But then yeah, it kind of, is, because you weren't really
Yeah, right.
the
Yeah,
majority of
right.
people who were Black, and you were just putting a
Right.
lot of Black. Okay, yeah, you could have hired differently, and so that's
Right.
an
Right.
interesting thing. So I just wanted to
You
see
know
your
that.
opinion because it's a tricky question. So
It is. Yeah.
as we head towards the last few questions, is there a fun fact about yourself you can share?
Fun fact about myself. Oh God, now, wow.
It doesn't have to be Trek related. It could be anything.
Well, that was what I was gonna say. I was like, okay, I'm trying to think of something that's not Trek related. That's oh God, okay. Wow. Oh uh, uh, uh. A fun fact about myself. Let's see. Uh, I won I won the award for best social studies student in
That's
Catholic
cool.
school.
You went to
Okay.
Catholic school too?
Yes. Oh, I sure did. You know it. Yeah.
For how
Yeah. I went to
long?
Catholic elementary school. I started across the street, right across the street there. I went to Sacred Heart, and I finished up in Immaculate Conception. My sister,
Wow.
all the time, she's like, you know what? That's your Catholic school thinking. She'll always tell me that. She's like, oh, my poor Catholic school uh, scarred brother. And she'll say that.
I went to a Lutheran school for 8 years, so
Okay.
very close cousins.
Very close, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
very
Oh,
close
yeah.
cousins.
Catholic school was woof. Here's a fun fact. I got suspended from Catholic school one time for me and this other kid were drawing dirty, raunchy pictures
In Catholic school?
in Catholic school. Now, when I went to public school and they caught me drawing raunchy pictures, they were like, "Yeah, put that away." I was like, "Oh man, I should have went to public school."
I gotta say though, when I went to Catholic camp, I went to camp for one summer at the Catholic school down the block from me, and that's when I learned to curse.
Of course. No,
So
yeah, no.
there's something
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah, there's something to it. Yeah. I
So
know. Yeah. Yeah.
so is there a way for people who are not part of the Trek community to support Trekkers? I don't know if there is, but I'm just curious.
Support. That's a good question.
Should people be cash apping y'all who buy the costumes, buy the
Oh
uniforms?
wow. You know what? You know what? I could never bring myself to do that. I could never bring myself to do that. Like I just feel like that's not me.
You,
I don't know if
it's not
that's
our
my
generational
upbringing.
thing. It's
Yeah, I
not
think
us.
that is. Yeah, like I can't bring myself, like I can't make a GoFundMe like, oh, help me buy, a Picard uniform, No. Everything I've bought, like this for this cat, everything I've bought on my own. Um, support.
Just not make fun of us.
Yeah, I think that's a very good start. That's a very good start because yeah, I can't think of. I mean, it's like I got so many weird emails when I posted. You've probably seen my page where I was like, "Happy First Contact Day,"
Mm-hmm.
you know, and people were like, "What's First Contact Day?" And I was like, "It's okay. It's a fictional concept. Where 40 years from now we meet the Vulcans, and
It is 40
it's
years from
it's a
now.
thing, right?" And some people were like checking in on me, like, "Are you okay? Like, you don't really believe this, do you?" And I'm like, "No, it's all in fun. It really is. Don't take it too
Really?
seriously."
People ask you, do you believe this?
People will ask, yeah.
No one
There were
asked me
people
that.
who, oh, really? No, well, like that's probably because I don't, maybe you don't post the way I do, but
Mm-hmm.
people will ask you weird questions. Oh my God, I've gotten so many weird questions about Delilah. Um, People ask me about, what kind of cat food she eats, and I'm like, if I was that kind of person, talk about GoFundMe, like I could totally like make a go, because now she's older. She's going to be 16 this year, and she's older, so she needs like a special diet. She doesn't see as well as she used to. So I mean, if I was like that kind of guy, I could be on GoFundMe, like, yeah, help me pay for my cat's food, and she needs an eye procedure. I just can't do it. It's not in me.
Yeah.
But wow, I don't know. God, yeah, just don't make fun of us. Just respect us.
Because in the end of the day, we're really just trying to make the world that Gene Roddenberry dreamed of.
Exactly.
Like
right?
all of us want.
Right.
We all just get it right for a change.
I think that's a respectable thing to, that's something to respect. I mean, if I was a Star Wars fan and I wanted, I don't know, I wanted to build a new republic, they'd probably be, they'd go fund the heck out of that. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
They don't understand this. We're brainy.
They don't. It's so, you can't believe how people don't understand us. It's unbelievable. I'm like, why? Why are you so committed to making fun of us? Like, what?
I told someone happy first contact day, and I was like, you don't even know what this day is, right? And they told me what the day was, but they went and Googled it, and they gave me the top half of the article. And so I came back and I was like, close, but not exactly. And I told them the real reason, right? And they're like, no, but that's not what the article says. And I was like, So I went and found the same exact article. It's just a wiki article, right? And I bring back, you didn't open it up to read the rest of it, to know that I did not need this article to tell you what it was about. So they were talking about the guy who chose the date because it was his son's birthday, and it's the way in which we, unofficially celebrate Star Trek, whatever. I was like, none of us would care about that. We already have Star Trek Day in the fall. We care about it because Zefram Cochrane hit warp speed. And there's a whole movie about it. And if you didn't watch the movie, they then made the book about it. So you can sit there and enjoy a great piece of film about this day that had to happen for all of this world to happen.
Right.
And that's what this is really about. Who cares about his son's birthday? Yay, we're celebrating his birthday. No one cares about that.
Oh, man.
What we really care about is Zefram Cochrane and warp speed.
Right. Exactly. That's what got it all started.
Exactly. So how do we support you? How do we find out about Delilah? Like, what is her page? How do we find her page?
There's Captain Delilah the cat on Facebook, and Captain Delilah the cat on Instagram. People have been asking me. I've been back and forth with one vendor. I'm trying to make T-shirts. Oh my God. Did I send you a postcard?
You did. I have it sitting on my bookshelf.
Yeah, I still have like a whole pack of these just sitting.
I love it.
Yeah, that's my baby.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's where you can find her. Captain Delilah Cat on Instagram, Captain Delilah the Cat on Facebook. Yeah.
And then we find you on these sites too?
Yeah, you can find me. I'm Johnny Martin Jr. on Facebook, and on Instagram, I'm JMar0073.
Awesome. Well, that's the end of this episode. Thank you, Johnny, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for listening in to another episode of On Behalf of. Like I said when we started, hit that subscribe button somewhere. If you feel extra generous, you can join and the membership thing and do that. But if whatever, the main goal is that you live long and prosper and choose to be friends. It was like, what, friend choose to live? Is that what he says? I think that's what he says. Friend choose to live. I love that line. So yes, friend choose to live. I'm not saying it's a threat as he says it in the show, but Today is not a good day to die, but live
No.
long and prosper.
Exactly.
So.